What's going on, guys? My name's Hayden Crabtree. I'm a commercial real estate investor, and I'm here today to tell you why everybody should be buying real estate in their 20s. Now, if you're not in your 20s, don't turn this off. If you're younger than 20, that's amazing. Please keep watching. You'll have even more benefit. If you're older than 20, whether you're 22, 32, 42, 52, 62, however old you are, I want you to know that the next best time to start buying real estate aside from your 20s is today. So if you're already out of your 20s, don't think this video isn't for you. Mainly, I'm going to talk about the benefits of buying real estate early and waiting for things to happen over the long term. Okay, so if you're in your 20s, you're going to get more and more results, and your real estate growth and income and wealth is going to happen at a bigger and bigger scale each and every single year that you do start investing earlier. So my name's Hayden. I'm 23. I'm the author of a book called Skip the Flip. It's talking about how you should buy long-term cash flow properties instead of house flipping, and why I believe, and I know, and I've seen in my own life, that that's the way to wealth. Whereas house flipping is good for making money, but it's not good for building wealth. Okay, so we're going to talk today about how your money compounds in long-term investing rather than just getting money one time and flipping it. So if you're in your 20s, pay close attention. We're going to talk about over the long term exactly what we're going to look for. So let's say we're 25 years old. Okay? Let's say that our starting point right here is 25 years old, and let's say we're going to look at things that happen over the course of, call it 20 years. Okay, so this puts us at 45 years old. Okay? Let's say, for instance, we buy a piece of cash flow property and we use a bank to buy it, and let's say that at this time we put, let's just throw some number out there. Let's say that we put $50,000 into the property. Okay, that's of our own money or an investor's money. Let's look at what happens, and let's say that we make, call it $10,000 a year in cash flow. Okay, so if we're making $10,000 a year, let's kind of analyze what happens as we go through. The number one thing that's going to benefit us is inflation. Okay, so simply put, inflation is that I have $1 today. In 1 year, that dollar is going to be worth just a little bit less because the dollar stays the same, but the purchase price of everything else, whether it's a gallon of gas, whether it's a gallon of milk, whether it's rent, whatever it may be, inflation causes the dollar to stay the same, but it causes everything to go up in price. Therefore, the value of your dollar is going down and your dollar buys less. So the number one thing that's going to benefit us as the investor is inflation. Okay, if we don't own any real estate, then we have inflation working against us. If we have inflation on our side as a real estate investor, then what's going to happen is this $10,000 a year, that number is going to go up. And let's just break this down real quick. Let's say that the property brings in, let's call it $20K a year. Let's say our expenses are $5K a year, and let's say our debt is another $5K a year. So income of $20,000, expenses of $5,000, debt of $5,000. And that's going to give us our $10,000 cash flow. Okay, that's in year one. Now, what's going to happen as inflation occurs over time, this $20,000 number is going to go up little by little. Let's say it goes from 20 to, let's call it 21, to 22, to 23. And let's say eventually down here, this number almost doubles. So let's say that now it's bringing in $40,000 a year. Okay. As our income increases over time, our expenses are going to slowly increase as well, but our debt is at a locked payment. Okay, so income increases, expenses increase, but debt stays the same. And what that's going to do is that's going to make our cash flow, let's call this 10K, our cash flow number, that's going to slowly rise as well. So while the income went up 1,000, let's say the expenses went up 500, but debt stayed the same. Now we're making 10.5. Now we're making 11. Now we're making 12. And that's going to continue out over time. Okay, so in 20 years, even though we bought this property today, we spent money one time. We're going to get ever increasing cash flows from this property. And let's say at the end of this, we're going to have $20,000 a year in cash flow. That's the number one benefit we get. The number two benefit we get is debt pay down. So this debt that we're paying down at a locked rate each year, the balance of that, let's just say we borrowed, we'll just use round numbers. Let's say we borrowed $50K. That debt is going to go down each and every year. So it's going to be, call it, $49,000, $48,000, $46,000. It's going to go down and down and down until at the end of year 20, it's at zero. Well, when that happens, our debt payments are going to stay the same. But at the end of year 20, what's going to happen is now we've paid all of our debt off. We own this property debt-free. And now we have a property that's not only going to pay us $20K a year because of inflation, but we get to add the additional money that we were paying the bank, but we're not anymore, over to our cash flow. So now we're going to add another $5K back in. And my point here is that the sooner you can buy a property, the sooner you start letting inflation and debt pay down work for you. Okay, so if you can buy it in your 20s, you're going to be reaping a whole lot of rewards when you're in your 40s, which when you're in your 40s, you're still healthy, you still have a lot of life left to live. You can benefit from those properties immensely. So the sooner you can start buying, the sooner your future self will thank you. Now, in addition, when you're down here in your 20s, one of the biggest expenses for you is going to be taxes. Okay? And the way money works is the sooner you can invest money, the more and more it's going to grow over time. So if you're down here in your 20s, call it 25, if you can use real estate to not pay any taxes at all, that's essentially boosting your income. If you were paying, call it 20 to 25% taxes, if you can eliminate those taxes, you've essentially given yourself a raise. You can take all that extra money and dump it back into more investment properties that's going to pay yourself later. Okay, so if you can come down here, the sooner you can start eliminating taxes, reinvest that money into the future, into properties that are both going to cash flow now and pay down debt and use inflation, it's just a winning formula. So the sooner you can get this going, the more and more it'll benefit you later in your life. Okay, so another reason is that you become bankable. The sooner you can start acquiring assets, the more and more banks will want to lend and give you money, because if you own no properties, you don't really have assets to back your name. Versus if I walk into a bank, say, hey, I've got 6 properties here, 2 properties there, I've got another one over in that state and one down here, and I have all these properties that I own. Will you give me a loan? They're much more likely to look at all that and say, wow, this guy has a bunch of assets, he has cash flow coming in, he has equity here, equity there, ownership there. He knows what he's doing. He's bankable. We can give him money, not just to him personally, but to all of his real estate holdings. We can use that as security to give him even more money. So if you just walk in with no assets, you say, hey, I'm a 25-year-old and I'd like some money. Most bankers are going to laugh at you because you don't really have any assets to back you up and say that you're worth lending money to. Okay, so the sooner you can start buying real estate, the better off you'll be. I'd suggest 25 would be a great time. But again, if you're 35, if you're 45, if you're 85, it doesn't matter. Start buying real estate because all the benefits are there. They just get better and better as time goes on. So thank you for watching this book. If you want to pick up a free copy of my book, Skip the Flip, it's going to tell you everything. Go to Hayden Crabtree. Let's see. I'll write it up here for you guys just to make sure we get it, and I'll link it below too. But you can go to Hayden Crabtree, which is my name, .com/free book. Another place you can go is I have a Facebook group where we talk about real estate investing. It's called The Art of No Money Down Real Estate Investing. So if you look at this and you go, wow, Hayden, that's great, but I don't have $50,000 to put it down, come join this Facebook group, and we talk about how you can buy real estate with none of your own money, whether it's an investor's strategically working deals with other property owners. You can come to haydencrabtree.com/community and join that Facebook group. It's a great group to be in. It's free. It's exclusive. You can get a hold of me there. So come and join us in one of these 2 spots, and I think that'd be awesome. So come join us. And if you enjoyed this video, I'd ask that you subscribe to this YouTube channel. I put out 2 videos like this every single week designed to help you grow in your real estate business. Thank you for watching. Be great.